All right, so you got a ram, the power running boards won't deploy or they won't stow, maybe they're stuck down. I'm gonna show you how to tear them apart, fix them, put them back together so that your power running boards work and you don't have to spend insane money fixing them or replacing them. So this is some of the pieces. I have one that's disassembled already that I've serviced, so I'm gonna show you the ins and outs and kind of the pieces and everything, and then we're gonna take the other one that's seized and we'll take it apart and I'll show you how to press the pins out of it. These are considered non-serviceable, so they are serviceable. You just have to kind of know what you're doing, and you're gonna need some tools. So first things first, I guess, let's go over some of the tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need a ratchet, whether it's, I'm using 1/4 inch, but you could use 3/8 if you want. You're gonna need a T30 Torx. You're gonna need a 5mm hex key and a 10mm socket. Now, for testing purposes, I also have a power probe, which I'm gonna be using to run the electric motor. And it's a good way to check to see if this is seized or not. On the rear hinge assembly, there is no electric motor. So we can just check that by putting it in the vise and moving it and see. I will warn you now, do not stick your fingers in here when this is open or in between these two plates, because there's enough torque in this that it will squish your fingers real good. So don't be stupid. Now, this plug that goes to the electric motor, you'll notice it has 5 wires. There's 2 wires here that are bigger than the 3 wires over here. So these 2, yellow and orange, are going to be your power feeds for the electric motor. The 3 smaller ones on the bottom are for a position sensor that's inside of here that the computer uses to reference where the board is to tell if it's deployed or stowed. Now, if you feed power to the orange wire, and if you feed power to the orange wire, it's going to stow the running board. If you feed power to the yellow wire, then it's going to deploy the running board. So right now you can see we're in the stowed position. So I want to deploy this thing. So I'm going to put my ground terminal on here. We'll turn this on so we got a little bit of juice here. I'm just using a battery pack. And yeah, the power probe's nice because we can just feed things power, right? So we'll get in here. Just like that. Now, it's nice to use that just so you can like deploy and stow it and see, make sure everything moves freely. One quick way before you take the running boards off of the truck to check is you can try to take the bolts out of this rod and see. I guess you might have to slide it over, but if you can disconnect these, they're linked together with this rod, then you'd be able to move this independently and see if it's seized up or not. But so now that this is off, or we know that this is free, we've got a couple pieces of the assembly. So you'll notice in total, each hinge assembly has a total of 4 pins to make the hinge assembly. For the electric motor hinge, you've got the main drive pin that goes to the electric motor assembly with the gear reduction gearbox. And there is a keyway that's in here that's threaded with a 10mm bolt so that the shaft will not slip inside of here. Although it is a press fit, but there's not enough tension of the press fit to keep that from possibly slipping, so they put a keyway in there. It's just a block of aluminum on the other side. They do have blue Loctite on that, so that bolt will be tight coming out. It's 10mm. This pin over here, it links the 2 hinge assemblies together so that they're timed, and also drives that hinge assembly. So this is the rod that you'll see on your running board, and you'll notice that inside of there, one side is flat and there's a hole in there. You're going to find those T30 Torx bolts inside. That's what secures this to the hinge assemblies. I have marked this with a red dot, and some other spots in the running boards, which I'll show you what to do here shortly, just so that when you go to reassemble, you'll know where all the pieces go and what sides they go on. These two pins up here are just free pins. They do press in a certain direction. You'll notice how this side is flush versus this side over here is sticking out. So the pins will go in this way and come out this way. As far as these ones down here goes, the electric motor pin, I'm not going to take it out, but it would need to be put in the right position so that the keyway and everything lines up properly. So it's important, if you do decide you want to take that off, to basically mark the pin in correlation to this arm here so that it goes back exactly where it came out of. And that also applies to this pin down here as well. Very, very important, the position of this pin, if you do decide to take it out, that it goes back exactly where it was. Otherwise, what's going to happen is your two hinge assemblies will not be equal. One will be off, and you won't get this bar lined back up. And yeah, the running board will either deploy and be crooked, or it might stow and not stow properly, be crooked.
Bind up.
So as far as marking that goes, you could try to use a paint pen or scribe it or something like that. I'm using paint pens to mark a bunch of locations, and those paint pens are from Olsa Tools. You can get yours olsatools.com. Also, I've got some wire brushes for cleaning up the pins. Basically, if you take a close look at this, there's a steel insert that gets pressed into this aluminum piece here. And then there is a copper or brass bushing that goes in next, followed by the pin. And what happens is the steel insert rusts, and then it just seizes up. So yeah, this one is good to go. This one here, I'll throw it in the vise and show you what it's kind of supposed to look like and feel like. But you can see like that moves nice and freely, right? That's how we want it. Don't stick your fingers in there. These pins, they all go out in the same direction. Versus these ones, like I say, you're gonna have two pins that go out this way, and this one goes out that way. So these ones usually are the culprits as far as seizing up. It's usually these outer ones, here, and these ones here. So I usually leave this one alone, and this one alone, but completely up to you if you want to take them apart. You just have to make sure they go back exactly where they were. I usually clean these up inside of here with a little pick, try to scrape off as much rust and stuff as I can, and then yeah, hit it with some lube. Hopefully yours aren't super seized up, but anyhow, we'll grab a fully assembled running board, and we'll show you how to mark it and take it apart. All right, so here's our full assembled running board that is seized. What we're gonna do first before we work on this is give it a good wash. I'm gonna use a pressure washer, get all this lube and stuff off, get all the grease off, get all the dirt off. We wanna get this thing pretty well as clean as we can. Don't worry about getting it wet because it lives outside anyways, so it's designed to get wet. So let's go give it a wash. Okay, the very first thing we're going to do is remove these end caps. So we've got two Phillips screws, one located here, and there's also another one that's located in here. You just take those out. These end caps are made of plastic and they just slide into place. So pretty simple to remove. Sometimes they get stuck in there with dirt and corrosion. seeing as the whole board is made out of corrosion. But,
Aluminum?
Or yeah, sorry, it is made of aluminum. It's been a long day. I have this running board set up in the vise, but just don't, it's hollow. This whole thing's hollow, right? So you don't want to squish it too tight because we don't want to wreck it. But just enough to kind of hold it into place. So do that on both ends, and then once we get those done, we're going to mark where these things are located so that when we take them off and go to put them back on, we know exactly where they need to go. Okay, we got this board all dried off for the most part. I'm gonna grab myself a yellow paint pen, and we're just gonna put marks on either sides of these. Do both of them. And then this one that's down here, I'm actually gonna grab a red paint pen and put a couple dots just on this side and on this board so that I know this end one goes here, the motor one goes there. I know how far out they're supposed to be spaced so that everything goes back to the way it was. Then we can proceed by removing some other pieces. Okay, now we're going to remove these T30 Torx screws that secure this rod in place. Okay, now we're going to remove the 5mm hex key bolts. I'm going to leave them in a few threads because we need to take this off. However, there's a aluminum block that's in there that these thread into that slide in this rail, and it'll be all corroded together, so this is going to be stuck. And I'm going to show you how to get it unstuck, but yeah, we don't want to completely take these out, otherwise when we do free it up, it's going to just fall off. They are secured with blue Loctite, so they'll be a little bit tough coming out. Try not to strip them. Okay, I got this block of wood here because we don't want to just damage the aluminum, but we're just going to give this a couple hits. You can see we've moved there. Should be able to wiggle that back and forth, so now we're free. Once we remove these bolts, this thing will just come off, but I want to try to slide it down a little bit more so that we can get this tube off of here. I might have to just hit this down a little further. Yep, there we go. And this thing's just going to be rusted on a little bit, so we want to just try to wiggle it back and forth, but we don't want to bend it. Yeah, this one's real stuck on there. Okay, we can just set this tube aside. If you want to mark which side this goes on, you can. I believe they are the same either way. All right, changed my mind. I am actually just going to mark this. There's a, not that it really matters too much, but one side has an oblong hole versus the side of the motor that's just got a regular hole. But I'm just going to put a red dot on there just so that I know that goes to that and everything goes back where it was. All right, so now we just remove these 5mm hex screws. And once we get those out, this thing's going to come off. There's the aluminum bar that slides inside of the rail. We're going to clean that up later so that we're able to actually like slide that nicely. There's the inside. You see all the dirt and everything that's in there. But now we got this piece off. So we're going to set this aside. We're going to repeat the process for this side. And same thing, loosen off these two screws, not all the way. Put a block of wood here, hit it, free it up. Take the screws out, we can remove this, and we'll get this part of the running board, the actual board, out of the road so that we can get to servicing the hinges. All right, so that one was like right seized up, and so was this one. Now, basically what you see me doing there was I was just trying to feed it power as I hit it, and then I would let off. I don't want to keep a lot of current going through the motor when it seized, like puts a lot of stress on the motor. But I wanted to be able to just get it to move. And then what I'm gonna do is probably hit it with a bunch of lube and see if I can get it to start going so that I can just work it back and forth and get everything cleaned up. And that way the pins aren't as tight. This one also completely seized. I'm gonna try to do the same thing with it. I'll beat it with a dead blow hammer. Doesn't really hurt it, but yeah, just watch the motor. You don't wanna be just feeding it 12 volts and it's sitting there, you burn the motor out. Also too, these motors, there's magnets on the inside of these. So don't hit this or drop it because you could break the magnet inside and then the motor's toast. So now we're going to, once I get these sort of freed up the best that I can, we will try to get these pins out. A couple ways we can do that. Either use the press or we can use an air hammer like this and drive the pins out. We will need to support the other side though, where the pin's gonna come out. Usually put like a socket or something around here that just keeps this stationary, and then we'll drive the pins out. So you just want to go along and clean up all those metal bushings that rust. That way you can get all the rust out of there as far as the surface goes anyways. And then we can try to hit that with some penetrating oil. I like to use a little bit of compressed air to try to blow it in there. Work it back and forth a bunch of times. Eventually the oil will get in there and it starts breaking down the rust that's inside. And if you really wanted to, you know, you don't even have to take the pins out. You could just do that a whole bunch and clean it up the best you can. And honestly, that would probably work. But if you want to really clean it all out, then we can go ahead with the pin removal. I had the air hammer turned down real low. I just didn't want to destroy this. But I'm gonna go rig it up in the press just so I got more control over this, and that way I'm not trying to balance a bunch of stuff. It'll be easier. So it's coming out. We just gotta keep working at it and we'll get it out, and then we can do the other one as well. And we'll clean it up and I'll show you the inside of this thing. You can kind of see how, like, you see all them little notches? That's the bushing that's in there. Now, just keep in mind, like, none of these parts are available. There's no rebuild kits for them. So try not to destroy it. But yeah, I just, we had it set up in the press, but I just don't have the right tools and stuff to press it out. The air hammer just worked better. So we're just gonna keep reaming at this here and see if we can get this out. Okay, so a combination of punches, a hammer. It's a pain when you first start, just because everything, you gotta initially move everything. Plus you got the whole surface area of the pin that's pressed into this piece here. So yeah, the press fit is in the center piece. And then I was wrong about these ends. For some reason I thought they were like bubbled out on the end and that they could only go in and out one way, but really they can go in and out whichever way you want. So, but yeah, this is the pin here. We're just gonna like clean this up and polish it nicely. You can see we got some marks and stuff on it, but we'll get that all cleaned up nice. And then in there, we're just gonna clean this up really nice. And we're not gonna remove these pieces here. I know there's some rust and stuff, but there's like a coating on the inside as well. Almost looks like plastic or paint, but we'll clean that all off and it'll make a world of a difference. All right, so part of this bushing that's on the inside of here is like pretty much gone, just sort of like rotted away. Let's see if I can move this arm out of the road so you can see. But yeah, you see all the rust that builds up in there, and then it just bleeds through this brass bushing piece. It's sort of, it's perforated. And yeah, that's what ends up making them tight. But we're gonna try to clean this out. I just don't want any like jagged pieces or stuff that's folded over on itself in there. So we're gonna clean this up to the best of our abilities, and then we'll put it back together. So. Get that all cleaned up. See, it's still like kind of snug, so you know, we got room to clear that out a little bit. Try to clear out any burrs or anything in there. I can see it's got a couple war wounds on the inside, but we want to try to smooth that out the best we can. The pin is press fit into this piece, so the pin stays stationary with this arm. It pivots on this arm. You can see on that one the pin, how the pin does not move. So I can feel it's pretty tight right now, but we just want to get it to the point where it doesn't have any slop, but it's free enough that we can slap some lube on there, press it back in, and it moves nice and free. So this is like without the cage. It's got side to side. It's actually not too bad. But yeah, it's got a bit of play. And then up here with it in there, it's tight. Tight. I mean, I guess if you had to, you could just run them without these little copper sleeves that go inside the steel sleeve, but I think like I just sort of flattened that back out, cleaned it up, stuffed it back in there once I cleaned the rust off of the inner steel sleeve. That's the problem. They should have made that out of stainless, but and then just lube it up. But yeah, you can see now, that's how nice it should work. Like, sure, a little bit of play, that's totally fine, but we need to be able to move nicely like that. So now I just gotta do that to this one. Split on this one. Just trying to fold it in on itself right now, and then we can kind of work our way in behind it. I'm gonna try not to just completely destroy these and see if we can just reuse them. I know they're in rough shape, but I mean, hey, once they're cleaned up and put back together, they're back together, you know what I mean? All right, so we folded it in. You can see how tough this one looks. But we're just gonna try to flatten it back out and clean this up. All right, so I just gotta get this folded up enough I can sneak it in there. Hit this with a little bit of lube. Work her around here. Sorry if it looks a little crude on camera. I promise it'll work. Then we're gonna flatten that out with the pick. And once we get our pin started, it should sort of spread itself out. Just working it around, trying to get this thing to sort of seat into place. Get some movement out of it, get it all lubed up. All right, we're just cleaning those out. Little tip for you, if you want, you can heat up the aluminum just a little bit, put a little heat in it. It's just gonna help that aluminum expand. Take some of the tension off of that pin when you're taking it out. Okay, so we got the board mounted up here. We have cleaned out the rails, took out the aluminum slides, cleaned everything. I've run a tap through the holes to get rid of the blue Loctite, cleaned up all the bolts, got rid of the blue Loctite. We're gonna reapply our blue Loctite. And all we want to do is just put a bit on there, and we're going to mount up the motor side first. It doesn't really matter which side you choose, whether you want the one with the motor or the other one, not a big deal. But yeah, we're just going to get these all schmooed up there. And I need to grab my tool. Remember, we painted the lines on there, so we know exactly where to put this thing. So we're just gonna start these. We wanna get them pretty close to tight, but not tight yet, because we still need to install the other side and then put the shaft in there too. So to get the shaft on, we're gonna have to slide these things around a little bit. See here, we've got our rod, and I did paint a dot on one side. Forget what side it is, doesn't matter. And you can put your hinge, if you actuate the motor, whatever position you want, doesn't really matter because this one's free to move. So then all we're gonna do is just slide this down and then slide it in like that so the threaded hole lines up. And we've got our T30 Torx bolts here. I put a little blue Loctite, I cleaned them all up. So we're just gonna get those started in there and do the same for the other side. There should be some marks to where the bolts were before. So we're gonna get that close. I just wanna see if I can get this to come over a little bit. And we're gonna line these paint marks up. You can see how you wanna center those up exactly where this was before. Because when I go to put this on the truck, very important that it's exactly where it was so that all the holes line up, everything works good. Everything's looking like it's lining up great. Get this put on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down first. Then I'm going to do, actually I'll do the mounts probably first because these might move out a little. Now these bolts, they're being threaded into an aluminum block, so you want them like pretty snug, but not too tight. You don't want to strip the threads out. We'll go do this one. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down these Torx, T30 Torx. Once again, they don't have to be extremely tight. We got the Loctite on there, so that's gonna keep them from backing out. All right, now we just need to put our end caps on. Just like that. One screw goes in here, one screw goes in the bottom. And we'll do another screw there. I got to get my screwdriver. Just make sure this is flush. Everything looks good. Once again, don't over tighten these. They get threaded into the board itself, but the board is aluminum, so we don't want to damage the threads. And I just have this side to do. No Loctite on these. And line this hole up. Oops. These ones are a bit of a bugger. All right, and then the last thing, I just usually like to hit it with the power probe. Make sure everything's running good. You can see there, that's working good the way it's supposed to. So run her back and forth a couple times. Double check all your hardware, everything's good to go, ready to be mounted on the truck. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Don't be afraid to try this yourself. It's not as bad as it seems. And yeah, I think that's about it. So subscribe, like if this video has helped you, and we'll see you in the next one.